I never imagined myself as the kind of man who would be narrating this story. For years, I believed my life was on a predictable, steady course. My wife, Marissa, and I had been married for 12 years. We had 2 kids, a lovely home, and careers that allowed us to live comfortably. From the outside, everything seemed perfect. But perfection is often an illusion, and I learned that the hard way. It started subtly, as these things often do. Marissa began spending more time on her phone, her laughter punctuating quiet evenings as she texted someone, not me. She started working late more often, always with a reasonable excuse, a big project at work, a coworker's crisis, you name it. At first, I didn't question it. I trusted her, but trust, once broken, shatters like glass. I found out about the affair a month before our family reunion. I had no intention of snooping, but when her phone buzzed one night while she was in the shower, I glanced at the screen. The message read, "I can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible." My heart dropped. The name attached to the message was Liam, a name I didn't recognize. The confrontation was ugly. I waited until the kids were asleep and showed her the message. She didn't deny it. In fact, she looked almost relieved, as though a weight had been lifted. "I'm sorry you had to find out this way," she said, her voice calm and detached. "But Liam makes me feel alive in a way I haven't felt in years." Alive, as if our 12 years together, the family we built, the memories we shared, had been a cage rather than a foundation. I felt like a fool, betrayed and humiliated. But the worst was yet to come. Marissa insisted on attending the family reunion despite my objections. "We've been planning this for months," she argued. "I'm not going to let our issues ruin it for everyone else." It was clear she had no intention of backing down, so I agreed, albeit grudgingly. What I didn't expect was that she would dare to bring Liam. The reunion was at my parents' house, a sprawling property that had hosted countless family gatherings over the years. My parents, siblings, cousins, and extended relatives were all there, eager to reconnect. I had barely stepped through the door when I saw Marissa walk in, her hand intertwined with Liam's. My stomach churned. She was flaunting him as though this were normal, as though she hadn't completely shattered our marriage just weeks earlier. The whispers started almost immediately. My cousins exchanged incredulous glances, my mother's smile faltered, and my father's eyes darkened. But Marissa seemed unfazed, laughing and chatting as though nothing was amiss. Liam, to his credit, looked uncomfortable, but he stayed glued to her side. I'd had enough. I walked up to Marissa, my voice low but firm. "Can we talk privately?" She sighed, as though I were inconveniencing her, and followed me to a quiet corner of the house. "What are you doing?" I hissed. "Bringing him here. Are you trying to humiliate me in front of my entire family?" She crossed her arms, her expression defiant. "I didn't think it would be a big deal. People will find out eventually. Why not get it over with?" The audacity left me speechless. She'd reduced our marriage to a minor inconvenience, a hurdle to clear so she could parade her new lover around without guilt. It was then that I decided I wouldn't let her control the narrative. If she wanted to flaunt her betrayal, I would make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of person she was. Dinner was served an hour later. My parents, ever the gracious hosts, had set up long tables in the backyard, adorned with string lights and candles. It was a picturesque scene, the kind of setting that begged for laughter and warm memories. But the tension was palpable. People avoided looking directly at Marissa and Liam, their polite smiles strained. I stood up, raising my glass. "I'd like to say a few words," I began, my voice steady. All eyes turned to me, the murmur of conversation fading into silence. "Family means everything to me," I said, letting my gaze sweep across the table. "It's about love, loyalty, and support. We've gathered here today to celebrate those bonds, to honor the connections that hold us together. And I'm grateful to each of you for being a part of my life." Marissa shifted in her seat, sensing that something was coming. "But sometimes," I continued, "those bonds are tested. Sometimes the people we trust most let us down in ways we never imagined." My voice grew firmer, and I could see the realization dawning on Marissa's face. Like when your wife of 12 years decides to cheat on you and then has the audacity to bring her lover to your family reunion. The gasps were audible. Marissa's face turned a deep shade of red, her eyes wide with shock. Liam looked like he wanted to crawl under the table and disappear. Marissa, I said, turning to her, you've disrespected me, our marriage, and our family. You've humiliated me in front of the people I care about most. But more importantly, you've shown everyone here exactly who you are. The room was deathly silent. My mother's hand covered her mouth, tears glistening in her eyes. My father's jaw was clenched, his fury barely contained. Marissa tried to speak, her voice trembling. I didn't mean for it to. Save it, I cut her off. You made your choices. Now you get to live with the consequences. I turned to Liam, who looked as though he might bolt at any moment. And you, do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into? You think you've won some prize. Let me tell you something about Marissa. She'll make you feel special, like you're the center of her world. But when the novelty wears off, when the excitement fades, you'll just be another name in her long list of regrets. Liam didn't respond. He looked at Marissa, doubt flickering in his eyes. I saw her reach for his hand, but he pulled away. The cracks in their facade were already starting to show. I sat back down, the adrenaline coursing through my veins. The dinner continued, though the atmosphere was irreparably altered. Conversations were hushed, eyes darting between Marissa and me. She tried to salvage the evening, laughing too loudly at jokes and engaging in forced small talk, but it was no use. The damage was done. By the end of the night, Liam had disappeared. Marissa left alone, her shoulders slumped and her head bowed. I stayed behind, surrounded by family members who offered their support and sympathy. My mother hugged me tightly, her tears dampening my shirt. You deserve so much better, she whispered. In the weeks that followed, I filed for divorce. Marissa tried to apologize, to explain, but I didn't want to hear it. She'd made her choices, and I was done paying the price for them. The process was messy and painful, but it was also liberating. For the first time in years, I felt free. My family rallied around me, their love and support a constant source of strength. I threw myself into work, into rebuilding my life. And though the scars of betrayal remained, they served as a reminder of my resilience, of my ability to endure and overcome. As for Marissa, her world continued to unravel. Word of her affair spread through our social circles, and she became a pariah. Liam didn't stick around, and she was left to pick up the pieces of a life she had shattered. I didn't take any pleasure in her suffering, but I didn't pity her either. She had made her bed, now she had to lie in it, life moved on. It wasn't easy, but I found peace in knowing that I had stood up for myself, that I had reclaimed my dignity. And in the end, that was enough.